cutting edge guests, awesome uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul is awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. Well, g'day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show, where we stand for the Holy Trinity of love, levity, and liberty, because after all, love is the greatest power everywhere. And laughter is the best medicine, especially covering serious topics in all matters ancient, current, and quantum, right? Absolutely. Love, levity, and liberty. It's a mantra. Our mascot, the Bling Buddha, as you see him here behind me, he fully subscribes to it as he fires red pills from his 9mm. And he has a Punisher tattoo over his left breast to save the children. For those of you who are new, I'm your host, Brad Wozni, and I'm grateful to you divine lions and lionesses for tuning into the program for the first time and those who are returning. Thank you. I have served my country at the federal level as a Canadian infantry soldier. I've served it at the provincial level as a wildfire ranger, leaving out of helicopters to fight forest fires. I've also been a part of the corporate rat race, where shortly after the 3 World Trade Centers, they pancaked, collapsed in their footprint from that inside job. While I stood at ground zero, witnessing the heroic rescue efforts which went on, and then I was walking the halls of the Pentagon 72 hours later and 18 stories below it, below where the missile strike happened. I'm fortunate to become a Yushui Reiki master in 2015, and by leveraging the infinite source of the cosmic and our creator's power, I am following my soul's purpose in this incarnation, this lifetime, which is to help uplift humanity's consciousness with song and story. Before we jump to our segment, our episode for you today, just want to share with you, due to the extreme big tech censorship, as they've canceled the Instagram channels, they've banned me on YouTube. We can't get another channel going on there because I wrote a poem, uploaded it to save the kids, and YouTube deleted the channel. They don't like you doing everything to save the children. So please then subscribe to our Telegram so we can stay up to date and then we can share real-time updates with you with what's going on. And that Telegram channel is the Sovereign Soul Show. You'll see it here on the broadcast. And also subscribe to the Rumble channel at the Sovereign Soul, because right now, Rumble is the only censorship-free place that we can exist. Also, our website, shopthebuddha.com. You can subscribe there, check out a lot of amazing things that we posted and resources for you to help those who are just waking up at shopthebuddha.com, and get on our email list too. Some really cool stuff that'll be coming out there. Now, I'm all about saving the kids, and I'm a pure blood, and I'm grateful that we stuck it through. With regards to saving the kids, every one of my guests who's come on so far and in the future is about that too. They embody that. So without further ado, we begin our next segment. Enjoy the episode. Well, ladies and gentlemen, divine lions and lionesses, welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show, and welcoming back Sherri Divband. Woo! An animal intuitive, a total Reiki master, a total Jedi with kids, really. So great to have you back on the show in your new home in Palm Beach, Florida. Left the Northeast, just having palm trees all day behind you. Hi, Sherri, how you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me back. It's always nice to see you, Brad.
Yeah, thank you, and Happy New Year to you and the
Happy New Year.
Yeah, it was just wild. And Sherri, the channel has just kind of exploded. And so the brief background where we were, 5-6 months ago, we were talking about some of the kids that you had been dealing with. And for those people who don't know, and we've got our website up here, you can go to intuitivewellnesscenter.com. That link's in the description as well. And it's a center for spiritual and holistic healing. This is literally all Sherri's plan, and she is so friggin' busy. A mother of 3, a divine feminine woman married to an awesome husband, and literally just kicking it, whether she is putting out kids cartoons online, doing the readings, doing the transformational healings, I mean, you guys are just incredible warriors of light for the world. And with the pace that you're running, I mean, I don't have children yet in this lifetime. I plan on it at some point, but man, how you're able to accomplish so much is phenomenal. So thanks for being back on the show. And I look forward to talking about what you're picking up from the kids in the readings. You wanted to share with people how it is you worked with kids to help them, quote unquote, do transformational healings and perhaps talk to parents about who the soul is of the children that they have in their lifetime. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. And thank you for that amazing introduction. Wow. I was like, wow, is he talking about me or somebody else? Yeah, yeah, it's hard. It's so weird when you hear someone speak about your work, because sometimes you don't realize all the things you do until someone else says it. You're like, wow, I'm doing all of those things. But you're running on steam of like consciousness and light, and it's the most beautiful thing. It's like endless energy when you're doing something you're passionate about. And I'm very passionate about children and animals. My first part of my life was all about animals, and I was like, everything I put into my life was animals. How can we heal animals? How can I communicate with animals? How can I help the animals? I was going to heal all the animals as a little girl. I was like, I'm going to be a veterinarian. I'm going to heal every animal. That's not possible. And so now I feel like the second part of my life has really shifted the focus on children. And I feel like this divine connection too, because as I've been working with children, and I'm the founder of Aramis Creative Learning Center and the nonprofit Aramis Collective, I see the animals and the children merging back together, because the message that I've been receiving for years now is, and predominantly through this last few years, was that we need to reestablish the human and animal connection, the bond that has been broken, the bond that has been severed for nefarious reasons. And it's something that I never lost, and I've always appreciated my whole entire life. I was always so connected to animals. I knew they were just the most amazing, high consciousness beings, and I could communicate with them real well, because I felt more comfortable with animals than I did with people. I would always have my guard up with people. With animals, my guard was down, and I think that's why I was able to connect with them so easily. And now that I'm an adult, I can do that with much easier with children, because the animals taught me how. So you see, like, everything is full circle. There are no accidents in our life. There are no wrong turns. It's just part of the journey. And so I felt like, man, am I turning my back on the animals because my focus is on children? But what I realized working with children over the last few years, and I'll explain how I do that, the message that I was getting repeatedly over and over through the children's sessions was that an animal would come through, their spirit animal, or they were an animal in a previous life, or their spirit guides, or their higher self simply wanted to tell me that they're here to help the animals. They're here to help heal the animals and redefine the boundaries that have been completely lost and severed. And it's such a beautiful thing. And so I have focused a lot of my attention in Aramis Creative Learning Center. The first location is to incorporate and integrate animal healing and animal learning into all of our centers. So we will have horses, we'll have probably some farm animals. We just recently adopted a beautiful golden retriever puppy that kind of came out of nowhere, but I know nothing comes out of nowhere. It was just timing at the right time. And her name is Luna, and she is going to be our animal ambassador for children. So because I had envisioned a dog literally, she will roam free within the campus. She will be able to go to any classroom she wants, and she will be able to work with the children, be outside. I mean, that's why we have her, and she's incredible. So it's all about reestablishing the human animal bond and connection. And so that's a big part of my work, and very synchronistically how the two merge together, because I still love the animals so much. I'm still very passionate, but I really have to shift my focus on the children. And so when I work with children through my healing sessions, the way it works is I'll communicate with them briefly. It depends on their age, because I work with newborns all the way up to, pre-adolescent and really in kids in their early 20s that are kind of moving on to their adulthood and more independence. So it's a matter of how comfortable they are talking to me for the first time. So it could be a brief hi and that's it. Yeah. Maybe the child can't speak yet because they're a baby, or I have the chatterboxes that will talk tell me everything. They'll tell me their life on Mars and how they were in a war, and they were using these laser type guns, and they tell me about it. They'll openly tell me anything. But the way I get a majority of the information that I talk about is through telepathy. So I will communicate with the child's higher self, the soul. I don't like to call them children because I feel like that's disrespectful. Like, because the majority of these children are way more advanced than I am. Like, they are ascended masters that come to this planet and agree to bring themselves down in density, sometimes from 9th, 10th density all the way to 3rd, in order to help and assist humanity in moving forward in our evolution and this transformation that's occurring. So I feel sometimes like honored to be able to even speak to this soul, this being, because they're so wise. And I'm like, ooh, like, sometimes I feel embarrassed, that I don't know enough, but they're so kind, and they're so humble. And that's what I love about them. And so I communicate telepathically and also through visions. They show me, sometimes it's a harmony. It's a almost like a symphony of sound, where it's a group of beings talking to me, or the child's higher self. And then sometimes their star family will come through. So it's a being, their brother or family from Alpha Centauri or Pleiades. So they'll be more Nordic, or they'll be Arcturians. So they're more, the Arcturians, by the way, are the most like astute, put together, like professor, like that you feel, almost like, oh, I'm embarrassed to talk to you because like I'm not that smart. That's the vibe I get with the Arcturians, but they're so gentle and so wise. And so I communicate in many different forms. And the purpose of it is to not only help the parents understand why their child chose them, but where they come from, why are they here? And oftentimes, because they're starseed, they have challenges here right now, because many of them are feeling like fish out of water. I have been told in many sessions, it's almost as if these children are allergic. This is a quote, allergic to Earth. And it's not Earth itself. What I should say is the density, because imagine being a high consciousness being, vibrating almost in the light body, not even having a physical form, having to condense yourself down into these meat suits that we have that are adapted really over time to 3rd density. And there's only so much light that can come through. And when you have more light that expands the density in this being, there are responses that the body has. And those are in the form of the labels, which I think my biggest life goal, aside from everything else I'm doing, is I will make sure before I leave this earth, we will no longer use labels ever. No ADHD, no dyslexia, none of that has to go. Because what those are just defining the challenges these children or these beings are having, being such a high frequency in this dense body with this limited brain capacity. And that's all changing. So the good news is that we are going through this ascension, which means that our physical bodies are increasing with the light, with the planet's light, and collectively. So we are bringing in more light. Our densities are going up, which means that all that means is that our physical body can hold more light. And then we can upgrade, and our DNA can activate all these strands of DNA that have been dormant. And we can use more of our brain, more of our neurological system, more of our psychic senses, and all of our abilities. What I tell children, your superpowers, don't look at those superheroes on the TV. You are your own superhero when you tap into your innate abilities, but they're dormant in most of us because of this 3rd density matrix, the convoluted matrix we find ourselves in, and also the convoluted body and density that we are basically tapped out, like limited in.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure if I answered your question. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but the children tell me so many different things, and I learn so much every day from them. So it's really, what direction we want to go with this particular conversation as to what I'm learning at this time.
Yeah, and I would like to just jump in for a little bit of backstory for people with a foundational level, because we have an audience now that's international. I mean, my goodness, I'm so grateful that in 3.5 months went from like 700 people on Rumble after YouTube deleted my channels because I uploaded a Save the Children poem at the Trauma to Triumph event in Dallas, wrote, edited it, uploaded it. Within 2 hours of uploading it at that event, YouTube deleted my channel, Spotify deleted my channel, and I got a strike on Instagram, all of them emailing COVID-19 misinformation. That had nothing to do with that. It was all about saving children. I think I sent you that video too, right? And ladies and gentlemen, our show will continue after these brief and important messages. Over to you, my girl, and congratulations on your book. Look forward to getting it. And the #1 best-selling author, award-winning author. Here we go, brand new minted.
Oh my God!
For being back.
I found out that the actual writing of the book was the easiest part. It took me 20 years to write. Roots was amazing again, because I have extreme ADD and I could never sit still. And that product was amazing because it really allowed me to focus in and sit for hours at a time. I'm 5 months, 6 months of writing nonstop.
To our show. And so understanding, you've made a couple of amazing points, all phenomenal. Number one, animal communication. And after I became a Usui Reiki master in 2015, I started down the path of horsemanship, equine horsemanship, and energetic horsemanship, and the non-local communication. Non-local, by the way, folks, if you've ever seen schools of fish or schools of birds, obviously there's no communication verbally through fish in the bubbles or, the birds in the sky. They just immediately they'll just change direction, right? The fish. So you have that telepathic communication. That was really the first time I was beginning to learn how to settle my mind down, get back into my heart space and into my power chakra, in your stomach, right? 95% of our neurons are in our tummy. Hence, you got a gut feeling about things, right?
Which is why it was in the food.
Right. I know. And then now you're actually working with horses, and that I was down in Arizona, then Colorado, and then Vancouver Island in BC doing all of those. And from that experience, there were also some kids involved in working with them who did have those labels, ADD, ADHD, right? Very hyper type of a child. But as soon as they were around horses, it was like turning the switch off, the hyperness and the social skills that in the 3D world, they look at them and say they're antisocial, which is just disgusting. We already know from Robert F. Kennedy, Children's Health Defense, they published studies on that and said ADHD, ADD, autism exists because of vaccines. And then on top of that, we have, from a spiritual sense, our entire soul, especially highly evolved souls who have maybe 5th, 6th, 7th, 12th dimension. I remember, when we had our first show, Sherri, back last summer, you had recently worked with a child who had spent 100 Earth years, their soul, training to condense themselves down into the 3-dimensional world that we live in and be birthed in here to help uplift humanity's consciousness. And I think there were a 7th dimension. Or would you remember that particular instance?
I don't remember at this time, but probably it was around that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we see that these children, and I appreciate how you said that, it's hard to call them children when you understand that these can be greater evolved souls with so much more to impart on the world, all sentient life, than we may have ever been, and the parents. And so understanding this is really key. The ability for these younger humans in the biological age, but evolved souls to connect with nature and have an understanding and impart that knowledge to us. We can learn so much. And I find it just fascinating. I've always loved being around children who are high vibe, excited, innocent, in their first 7 years of life. They're living in the gamma part of their mind, which is absorb information and living in an imaginary state, which some people could say they're living between the realms, right? Because folks, we can only see 0.035% of the light spectrum that's available to us on average. That's just a scientific fact. So perhaps we as children were able to see a lot more things. And back then we might have called them ghosts, but it's just something else in a realm that we're not able to see anymore through conditioning and other things, including, like you mentioned, the poisons that they put into the foods in the atmosphere, to dump us down and also turn off our God gene and also that beautiful antenna to connect with source in our pineal gland.
Yeah, absolutely. They do so much in this third. That's why this third density is so convoluted, as I like to call it. I stole that from Dolores Cannon, but the convoluted universe. I call it the convoluted matrix. I love her because she was such a pioneer of her time, and we're still quoting her books. Because she was just an incredible ascended master that came into this planet to assist humanity and move us forward. And I believe that's what the children are doing. And they do everything they can. I just did a conference in Orlando, and big part of my presentation was I went through about 20 different things that they do to children not even from the time of birth, but from the womb. So pre-birth, to suppress their vibration. And I went through many, many examples, and I could have gone hours longer. I mean, I really had to cut it very short because I didn't have a lot of time. But there are so many things that they do and to suppress us from the time, because they know when we're children and we come in, we are so tapped into our higher consciousness. The veil is much thinner. And as a result of that, the God code, as you spoke about, is very vibrant. So we are much more expansive, and we're much more in the right brain and much more in the heart center. So children have imagination. So their creativity is infinite, and our ability to tap into it, to our knowing and our intuition, that gut feeling. Children know right from wrong, but you know why they second guess it? Because they're told by their parents, stop making that up, listen to what I said, and they're constantly told no to actually not to listen to it, to suppress it. And then they go into their school environment, and the teachers do the same. And it's a constant, it's just introduction of programming throughout. And when they come in from such a young, vibrant age, their light is so bright, and they're capable of so much. And the dark agenda, the nefarious beings, they know that. And they want that. Actually, if anything, they want that power, but because they can't have it, then they attack these children in dozens and dozens of forms and ways. And so I believe that a lot of these high consciousness beings come in from other places, and some of them are from Earth. I'm not saying everyone is galactic. Not all star seeds are galactic. Many of them are actually coming in from inner Earth. And I've seen a lot more of those lately. And if anything, Lemuria is becoming very present right now. And I happen to have a lifetime in Lemuria. So for some reason, well, not for some reason, I just said why, I attract the Lemurian. So I would say a very large percentage. Yeah, I attract a very large percentage of clients that are Lemurian, because I was told years ago, and I was talking about this on, I think, Jean-Claude's or maybe Michael's Jacob's show a long time ago, that the Lemurians are coming back. And many people that are living right now are reincarnated from or had an experience or a life in Lemuria, or many, and they're here to help us through the ascension and re-establish the philosophies, which is really the law of one. It's unity. It's helping us light the spark within us, the God code, and help us activate it. Because as soon as you wake up, you can't turn back. There's no way for people to go backwards. Really, truly, it doesn't happen. It's getting them to awake. Once you awake, you see through the illusion, and it's so clear, it's so crystal clear, that it's like you're looking in this beautiful clear ocean, and you see all the rocks, you see the fish go by, you see everything. I mean, right now we're in such murky waters, or what we have been, like people can't see. So they believe everything that they're told. There's so much programming going on. So they send these star seeds from various places, various planets, various star systems that are so vibrant, that have so much life experience, that they are it's almost like they're fighting the dark with the light. So what I mean by that is a lot of the children, if I was never interested necessarily in the labels, ADHD, autism, none of that really. And I think because, sometimes you are a product of your environment and what you're exposed to. So for instance, a lot of parents right now are very into autism because they have a child that was labeled autistic. So suddenly they are very interested in it. And some of them have spearheaded them into creating their own academics and things. And they are really passionate and advocate for helping them because they had that intimate experience. Personally, I never had that experience with my children. So it wasn't anything that was like in my mind where I needed to fight. The labels weren't at the forefront of my journey because I didn't have a lot of experience with that. So I think that's really important to bring up, because how did I get from there to where I am now if I'm not dealing with that necessarily with my own children? Because that's an important point to bring across. I didn't have that passion within me. The reason that I started to focus on that is because I started attracting parents that had autistic children or spectrum children or dyslexic children, and they sought out my spiritual advice and healing for them to see if I could help them. Maybe I could heal them, which we know that's not possible. Well, how could Sherri help them navigate through these challenges in school and behavioral issues that they were having as a result of being labeled and medicated, etc. And once I started to connect with these children on a soul to soul level, what transpired from that was mind blowing to me. And that's when I said, I had my own epiphany where the world needs to know this. There is actually an energetic explanation for every single characteristic symptom that creates that label that they have. That's not actually a bad thing. And it was mind blowing because like I said, I didn't study autism. I didn't study any of that. I didn't have a lot of experience, but I knew of it. And I thought, oh, this is that symptom. This is the explanation for it. Oh, this is that. There was an explanation for every single thing that they were being labeled for and judged for. And I was like, this is incredible information. And when I told the parents, it resonated with them 100% across the board. I never had any parents say that doesn't make any sense, Sherri. They're like, oh my God, this is important information. So yes, there are physical things that they do to our children, like the jabs. I'm so trained not to say the word. And through the poisons and the foods and the entire list of things that I went through in my past conference. So there are those things, but there's another explanation of what's going on, and the challenges that they're having have a lot to do with their energetic, the light that they bring in, and the conflict that occurs between the light and the physical body, because the body has trouble withstanding the energy, but also the consciousness doesn't merge with the way things are here. So the children are deemed spirited or stubborn or strong-willed, or they have behavioral issues. They don't want to go to school. They don't want to get a job. They're refusing to do this. They're saying no. And basically what's happening on a soul level is they're standing up for themselves, and they're trying to show us, knock us on our head and be like, wake up, guys, wake up from your slumber, wake up from your hypnosis. This is wrong. Why are we doing it this way? And they're causing parents to say, well, I don't know, like maybe we should rethink this. And that was me too. So I'm not perfect. Like I was that parent that had my 7-year-old look at me in the face and say, Mom, why is it done this way? This doesn't make sense. And I had to think about that. And I was like, wow, I don't know. Let me think about that some more. And so I'm having my own revelations as a parent myself. And I know that that's why my 3 beautiful souls came into my life to teach me, as well as they are doing for many parents. So there's so many revelations coming through, but I thought, wow, this is important information. Everybody needs to know that all of these things that these children are experiencing are not abnormal. They are just trying to shift and change the trajectory of how we do things, how we think about things, our health, and how we present ourselves. And that's why I wrote Divinely Guided. And there's going to be a part 2 at some point, but I just don't have enough time. But I give away a lot of the information in these interviews because I'm like, I'm not going to wait for the book to come out. I'm just going to tell everybody now. And so I do that through lectures, through these interviews, and little bits whenever I can, because it needs to be said now.
Yeah, most definitely. And going back for a second, I really was honored to, I believe it was, if I'm correct, the first show I was on with Michael Jaco, he said, well, first of all, you're an old soul from Lemuria. And so that was wonderful to hear that distinguishment. And there were the very first LBLs, actually before LBLs, I did a quantum healing hypnotherapy session with one of Dolores's top trained folks. And that was just revelatory for me, to at least get to the point of being able to trust somebody to do hypnotherapy with you, which is different than hypnosis. And then immediately what it took me to, and I saw, and what I was shown was just remarkable. I mean, jaw-dropping remarkable. So I'm really grateful to her organization still carrying forward that light. And to your point, Sherri, where you're speaking about, the kids, what they have to teach us, offer us, we need to listen to the old ways of teaching, of instruction, of living in harmony with all sentient life around our planet. I had Hoka Wichasha on from the Lakota Horse Nation about 2 months ago. Have you met with Hoka yet? Right, it's amazing, right? So here,
ladies and gentlemen, our show will continue after these brief and important messages.
If you're looking for groundbreaking nutritional products that revolutionize the way your body operates, you have to check out this cutting-edge nutrition brand, Root. The Trinity Pack Plus is a game changer. Let me show you. Zero In is the world's first quantum-ceutical, an all-natural adaptogenic nootropic that skyrockets clarity and creativity. Restore is a supplement that completely restores your gut health and optimizes your true brain. And last but not least, Clean Slate sweeps out heavy metals, including graphene oxide, gently evacuating toxins from the body to increase performance, longevity, and quality of life. Register now at therootsbrand.com/soul to get your Trinity Pack Plus
and to learn more about the Sovereign Soul Show's mission to save 100 million children
and how to get rewarded for being a part of the Root community. See you there.
And now, back to our show.
Amazing, right? So here, for those folks who aren't aware, the Lakota Horse Nation is the stewards of some of the greatest spirit animals on the planet. These horses who have been with their tribe for tens of thousands of years, right? And he sees themselves, and they see themselves as stewarding all life around them. And from a teaching standpoint, like we were speaking with Lemuria earlier, and going back to these wonderful indigenous cultures, which is they have to go out and then earn the right to have a horse, and then have that pairing, that partnership with the horse. And they ride them obviously bareback. Bareback, if people don't know, it means there's no saddle, no reins, nothing. That's it. Just you've got the horsehair and whatnot, and you have a partnership, just an incredible, great, benevolent partnership, as well as earning your way through with the tribe, and everybody teaches everyone all along the way. So it's really phenomenal. I definitely will go to your site here in a few minutes, and we'll show everybody Divinely Guided Children too. What I'm curious is, what are you seeing and hearing from the children that you've been interacting with over the last maybe 90 days? What have they been imparting on you about the world as we live in it now? It's January 2023, and over the next few years. What are some of the communications that have come forward from their souls?
Oh, gosh, so many different things. A lot of it has to do with getting the message across, which I've been trying to do my best at it, to repetitively remind people continuously, whatever, that was kind of redundant, that big part of the climax or the crescendo of this ascension is that we have to recognize that we're not being saved by anybody. There are no saviors out there, at least not in the way that a lot of the truther community is portraying. And there's a lot of false truth out there. And I think, well, I don't think, what I was told by some of them is that this is a test. So how we react to the drama that's occurring, because a lot of truther communities are fighting with each other. There's wars breaking out with words and these smear campaigns and all of this stuff. Like I watch that and I put my head down when I see that, because I'm like, don't you guys see that this is all a test? I truly believe that we are being tested to see where we stand in our empowerment, in our sovereignty. And if we continuously give our power away to this particular person or this particular group, we're not learning anything, and we're just going to repeat the patterns that we have been for so many millennia. And so what they continuously say over and over again is, Sherri, they still haven't learned. We still need to teach people to connect to their inner self, go within. I can't tell you how many times people say, what does that mean, Sherri? What does it mean to go within? And I've explained it countless times, but we also always have new people watching, the shows that are newly awakened. And so I'm not disrespecting any of them, but I think it's such a challenging notion to go within, because and you know why that is, Brad? Because we are so trained in the left brain. This third density, part of how it's so convoluted is that they have trained us through generations and generations in many different ways, and through manipulation and programming, to keep us in the left brain, to keep us in the sympathetic mode, to keep us in the fight or flight response continuously, to constantly be afraid or thinking about what's going to happen next instead of enjoying the moment. And they do that. They train us through TV shows, books, every arena. Everything in our life points in that direction. So we need to quiet the mind and stop looking to someone else to save us, who can help us. Our instinct when we are stressed is, oh, who can I call? What can I do? And it's really challenging for people to just say, I don't need anybody. Let me close off the world, tune everybody out, and go within my thoughts and tap into my higher awareness through my heart space, not through my mind, but my heart space, connect with my intuition, let the light come in from my consciousness, and beautiful things happen when that occurs. And I think that's a lot of what the children are trying to tell us. Go outside, connect to the earth. They do so much to disconnect us through just the designs of the cities, jam packing us in together. I mean, you wouldn't believe the houses are so close in the areas that we were looking for homes. I'm like, I could reach out my window and touch the neighbor's house. It's like, that's absurd. They put us all together. They get rid of all the trees, and it's disconnecting us from the vibration of the earth. And she's talking to us in many different ways, in many different forms, all the time. The earth communicates with us because she too is a consciousness. So the children are also guiding me to spread that word as well. Connect to the plants, the trees, the animals. The animals are an extension of Mother Earth as well. And so they talk a lot about inner earth. That's been coming up a lot. I have to say, for the probably 9 months and previous sessions, not a lot of inner earth came up. Not a lot. It was more galactic. And I think that was because we needed to get the galactic group to really feel comfortable and to find their community, because they were struggling so much. So I think that was important. And that's why
the galactic group, just to clarify, Sherri, the galactic
group sure.
Here on the surface.
The star seeds that are not of Earth, that are really struggling to fit in. Those are the ones that seem really awkward, or don't seem to acclimate well to our kind of earthly habits. They don't want to play sports. They don't do well in school. They don't really get along with other children, not because they're mean, but they're just very awkward, and they have a lot of challenges here. So they needed a lot of help. And I've been helping a lot of those children really for the past couple of years. And I think now we've got to a point where that arena has kind of at least reached a point where they are of balance, of harmony. They're connecting with the earth. And now it's time, and this also alludes to 2023 and what I've been told, that 2023 will be the focal point, or not the focal point. When we look back 15, 20, 30 years from now, we will be looking back to 2023 as the date of which we got our sovereignty back. So much is going to happen this year in 2023. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be challenges, but this is such a positive year. I feel so good about this year. And I've been getting this message for a while now, and I've talked about it on many shows. And we're finally here, and they're telling me that now is the time, and we're going to be seeing a lot of exciting things are going to come of this. But as a result of our progress, let's say, inner earth is now trying to communicate with us, because the second phase of our ascension is we are going to start, portals are going to start opening between inner earth and outer earth. And it's a lot of these children and the animals. That's why I talked about on Michael Jacob's show recently, the animal circling phenomenon. I did a whole show on that. And that has to do with the animals channeling energy and opening portals. So inner earth and outer earth can interact with one another, and we can, and the density of outer earth is shifting to match inner earth, because inner earth is 5th density. So there's so many different things. And like you talked about, animals communicate through telepathy, but also through energy. So they feel and they connect soul to soul, consciousness to consciousness, but they also feel energetically. They're in harmony with the frequency of the planet as it shifts to human resonance. And so they know innately when they're needed and what they need to do. And so when they start circling like that, they're opening these portals of energy, and there's a lot of them activating. So we will be communicating more with inner earth and the Telosians, the Agarthans. And so those children are now coming to me and telling me what their role will be. So they will be coming to outer earth and what they're going to do, how they're going to help us reshape. And they're less focused on technology. So I believe that, and from what I've experienced through at least my clients, the technology, a lot of the technology is coming from Sirius B, from Alpha Centauri, some from Andromeda, but inner earth, and those are just a few examples. From inner earth, the reason they're coming out is to show us, hey, look, this is how we've been living for the past, thousands and thousands of years in 5th density. This is how we do it. This is how we connect to the earth, the harmony of the planet, the animals, the plants. Let us show you how to do it. Let us show you how to build communities without destroying, without killing the animals, without leaving your not blueprint. I guess it is blueprint, but whatever the bad version of that, without destroying. Let us show you how to co-create. So they're coming to show, it's like a whole other theme, and it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, there's so many things I could tell you. Awesome. I had a little girl, a girl from Venus recently tell me that her job is to come here along with many to help us terraform the outside of the planet, but not in the way that we would think. It's not like we're going to be encapsulated in this terraforming, and Earth will no longer be inhabitable outside of those terraforms, because there are a lot of planets such as Venus, that is terraformed. So it's not inhabitable unless you're within the terraformed segment. And but Earth is going to have something similar to that, outer Earth, where there will be portions of it, and really it's plasma. What it is, and what they're showing me is it's energetic plasma grids that will protect and encapsulate certain portions of the. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, like what I'm being shown. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and that terraform is a regenesis. If anybody's ever watched Star Trek, you go back to it. There was an episode. I mean, the original Star Trek episode, or maybe it was a movie with Kirk and Leonard Nimoy playing Spock. But they had to terraform a planet, and they had a special. Somebody called it a weapon back then, but obviously it turned into a benevolent instrument of technology that just like the world went from like this dusty colored, nasty rock. You're like, it's not inhabiting life. And all of a sudden it's just beautiful. We've got waterfalls, jungles, and ocean, and birds, and life. And just phenomenal. Really, really cool. And amazing that we're going to have these connections with these inner earth beings. And basically now we'll have inner earth, surface, and galactic, all of these communities finally coming together and seeing each other. And, I just had a show, which people will have to go back and watch that. So I'm not stealing the thunder from the guests on that show, but let me just put it to you this way from a synopsis. What Sherri's saying is exactly what was picked up from these other guests, right? And in our pre-chat, I kind of told you who that was. So you'll be able to go and see that. It was really exciting, to note that 23, this is the year, like the fulcrum, where humanity just goes right up through in terms of an ascension or an expansion, really. It's not like we're actually moving out of these carbon and crystalline bodies and all of a sudden we're in 5D. We're not going to have that. So folks, make sure you're still working out, make sure you're still taking care of your abs.
Yeah.
You're still going to be wearing this meat suit for a while. It'll just be a little bit more expansive and lighter. That's for dang sure. So really freaking fascinating. I absolutely love that. It's amazing to me. It's really wild. When Michael had said, yeah, you're an old soul from Lemuria. When I grew up, we had a TV show, and we didn't grow up too far from each other, aside from the countries. Maybe you remember this if it was in the States, called Danger Bay. And in Canada, the show Danger Bay was filmed out Vancouver and Vancouver Aquarium around Stanley Park. And it was the marine biologists. They're always going out there and, with dealing with salmon and the orcas and the whales. It was fascinating, especially growing up just outside Toronto, Ontario, where we had lakes, the Great Lakes, but we certainly didn't have whales and massive runs of salmon and these big, beautiful coastlines. I remember thinking for years, I'm like, I want to be a marine biologist. I want to talk to whales. I want to ride whales. I want to swim with whales, but I had never read books about riding whales, whale riding, or being with dolphins. I'm a huge, huge fan of dolphins, or being with dolphins. I guess, obviously, being a Pisces in this lifetime right now, I'm very attracted to the water, salt water, especially in the Pacific. Always been attracted to the Pacific way more than the Caribbean. Not that there's anything wrong with the Caribbean. It's just how I'm innately drawn.
Atlantis, and then there's Lemuria.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that could be that too. So the fact that we have these, and using this, by the way, my story here, not to just kind of put my story on a pedestal, for any of you who have children, grandkids, you're around children. These are conversations that I've been testing for the last year, and I've been getting some really cool feedbacks. So, for example, the younger the children, I'll ask them like, so where are you from? And then me being an adult, they may have that typical answer like, oh, around the street or whatever. I'm like, well, what star system do you think you came from? Wow. Stand back and do it with non-judgment and do it with love. And as long as they pick up that vibration from you, that you are asking a meaningful question, I can almost guarantee that nearly every answer will shock you. Because once you come at it from that authentic, grounded sense, and you ask these questions, you start there. Or you can ask other questions. Have you ever had an opportunity to chat with animals without moving your lips? Using telepathy, using your mind, or do you feel certain vibrations? Some kids are a lot more kinesthetic, right? In that realm. It is fascinating, folks. Fascinating. And ask them about their dreams, and have you ever had cool dreams that you've been flying, right? Astral travel. It's phenomenal what you can start learning, and ask them what was in those dreams. Obviously, if it's of a benevolent sense, and see if they would like to share it with you. So I'm curious if you've had some really cool experiences kids have shared with you in the last little bit, Sherri. And if so, what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. The things that they say blow my mind. And so of course it blows my mind more when they're saying it to me face to face, as opposed to me kind of talking to their consciousness, because it's so much more fun when they remember themselves. And some of these children, when they talk to me, like my mouth is open and I have to tell their mom or dad, I'm like, oh my God, like that's incredible. Oh, and they tell me, oh, she or he says this stuff all the time. I had the most wise young girl tell me one day to my face, like she was ready. I think she was 9. It's, by the way, if I mess things up, it's because I talked to so many different people that like, I can't remember who I talked to a few days ago or last week, let alone, 2 months ago. It's so hard to remember all the details, but sure. She was young and she was telling me that the colors were wrong. The colors on the planet are wrong. Everything looks wrong. The colors don't match. Like there's something wrong with the colors here. And I know exactly what she meant. And that was just one example of the many things she said, and why, the food we eat is wrong. Why do we eat so much food? And she was saying that the colors don't look right, that there's something wrong with our colors. And I said, I've heard that before. Is it because that the colors that we're seeing are look different? And she said limited. And she said, they're basically saying, yeah, they're not right. Like they're not bright enough. They're not vibrant enough. And then where are the other colors? Like that we're missing colors. Like why do we have these colors? They're not even in our spectrum. They're not even known to us. And so she came in with the knowing like, this doesn't look right. Like what's wrong with this place? I've had children literally tell me that the reason that they are nonverbal, and I had one recently, because they know that our language is built on spells. So they know that the way that our language is put together, number one, is meant to limit us and our ability to communicate, which that is something I've received many times for years now, because when we connect energetically and telepathically, the possibilities are infinite. When we connect our consciousness, it's like boom, an explosion, because we know everything, right? But when you're trying to say, Brad, I had this dream the other night and I was flying and it never does it justice, because and I even catch myself saying this to people. I wish I could just connect you to my brain so you could just see what I see. And that's what the children are telling me, that the language here is so limiting and they don't want to speak it because they know that they want to encourage us to connect energetically and telepathically, because that's the way we will be moving forward with limited language. But also they know and recognize that if you use the words that we use, you are summoning demons and dark entities, and you are consenting to their agenda, and they refuse to do it. And the first time I heard that, like, I almost fell off my chair. I was like, gosh, that's so true. And they twist the words. Just think about the words think about the most common word that children use. What's the most common word that a child uses when they play sports?
Oh, if I've been in the school system, I would have said no is the most.
No, the sports, like the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Our children are saying ball.
Yeah.
As one of the first words that they say. Imagine how many times they say ball throughout their life. Yeah. Kick the soccer ball. Let's go play ball. Ball, ball, ball. Do you know what ball is summoning?
Oh.
Right? So like they're telling me these things and they're like, we don't want to say that. We are not going to say that. Like, that's just one example of many. I have like a whole page I started writing down these connections. So they don't want to speak the language. And they won't. And so, there's so many things. That's why Aramis Creative Learning Center is not a school, it's a center, and I'm working to change the vocabulary as well. What else have they told me?
Well, I'll go over this while we're talking about it. And by the way, just share with us the hummingbird logo in Aramis Creative Learning Center. What was the choice for the hummingbird as a spiritual sign?
This is a great question. It's funny because of all the years I've been talking, no one has ever asked me. And I thought that was funny. And then the other night I was doing a show with Carly and Julia, and I was like, no one's ever asked me that. Why? And because we were talking about birds and transformation and spirit animals and their messages. So this children's center originated, it was called Divinely Guided Children. I myself had an epiphany about a year into this center, where my daughter basically came to me and said, this is my legacy. You're creating this for me. This is what I'm here to do. I am a teacher of children. And it just like, my mind just exploded. I was like, Aramis, that's what I need to call this. This is why your name is so important. And I can talk about that later. So I came up with Aramis Creative Learning Center. Again, we weren't going to use the word school. And I said, what animals should I use? Now, everyone that knows me knows elephants are, I'm literally, I have an obsession with elephants. I have 2 elephant tattoos. I have them all over my house. My son went and counted the other day with a friend, and there was like 45 elephants in our house. He's like, Mom, that's crazy.
Yeah, you must have Ganesh in there. I mean, my goodness.
Oh yeah, I do. I have a bunch of Ganesh. So everyone assumed
we have Ganesh too. So that's cool. Ganesh and Buddha.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yes,
Buddha.
I am a big yes. I used to study Buddhism as well. And so everyone assumed that I was going to put an elephant on there. And I wanted to. I thought it was cute, but I was like, no, it's not right. And a hummingbird came to me. Yeah. And the most beautiful hummingbird right in my face. And I'm not talking out, like in reality, it was in my third eye. And it was a female. And she was telling me it represents everything that is in our reality right now, and everything that we stand for, and everything these children stand for. It's continuous evolution. It's being more organic, holistic, tapping into a higher consciousness, unity, connectedness. The hummingbird, it vibrates in such a high frequency. It's constantly moving. It's very majestic. It's very beautiful. And everything, all the messages that the hummingbird brings to people is what Aramis represents: transformation, change, evolution, ascension, sovereignty, empowerment. And I was like, my gosh. And I'm not a big hummingbird person. So like, that was like not something that I would have ever thought of, to be honest. But now they're my favorite. And I have a bunch all over my house, including this painting behind me that our artist, Cami DeMario, who does all of our animation illustrations, she made this for us. And so that's why I use the hummingbird. Now we do have an alternate. If you go on animal,
the one thing you haven't mentioned is joy. The spiritual significance of a hummingbird is joy. Just the
joy, yes. Thank you. Joy, harmony, and balance. Yes.
Yeah.
We do have an alternate logo. If you go to the animals section, because I wanted to honor the horses, because one thing I have not talked to you about, and I think this is how you and I connected, that the horse label down there. A big message that I was receiving roughly a year and a half ago is that the horses came to me as a collective.
Yeah.
And what they said to me,
sorry.
Yes, they came to me with the message that the horses are a big player, and they are the protectors of the land. Dolphins and whales are the protect. Let me say that again. Dolphins and whales are the protectors of the sea. Horses and elephants are the protector of land, which is interesting why I was so connected to elephants. But they said that horses are going to play a big role in the future of our recreating the human and animal bond. And they wanted me to know that they're going to play an integral role with the children moving forward. And I needed to have them in the centers, in all the centers. And this is how the animal therapy and learning came to be. And it's so much more than that. People can read on the website. There's so much more to it, but I wanted to honor them. So that is essentially Aramis hugging a horse in that label. I'm sorry, that logo right there, because I wanted to honor them and thank them for helping us with this. So that's that separate logo, because people always ask, why do you have two logos? And I'm like, well, one's for animals and then one's for the entire kind of program.
Yeah, so awesome. So that, this is at aramiscreativelearning.com, and we've got the different phases as you go through it. I would say it's a sacred school, as you're putting it together. So very, very exciting, from phase 1, 2, and 3 all on up. And it's great when you have this open, it's available for all ages to a certain degree, from the young all the way up through the late teens. And I think that's very powerful as well. So amazing.
I mean, children need to learn together. The older children need to be with the younger children and vice versa. It's valuable for them to connect with one another and teach each other. And so a big part of my plan is to get rid of grade levels so that we can do developmental groups. Allow children to teach small lesson plans to empower them. Get rid of grading. I'm a big advocate for getting rid of the competition-based learning structure. So no more standardized testing, no more tests, and really no grades. They're not going to be graded. That's so demeaning to these children. It causes so much unnecessary anxiety. My daughter comes home and she's like, "Mommy, I got a C," and she's literally hyperventilating. And first of all, I want to be like, do you know who your mom is? Like, does she not know who I am? Like, I don't care about grades. But I say it in a way that she recognizes that I'm not saying I don't care about your grades. I'm devaluing your progress. It's more that doesn't define you. It's okay. Great. Did you try your best? Yes or no? Great. That's all mommy cares about. Do not let the C define who you are, because you're so much better than that. And I remind her constantly, because right now in the system that they're in, unfortunately, they are being defined by their grades, and they're constantly competing with each other, and they're not relaxed, and they're not enjoying themselves, and therefore they're not learning anything of value. They're just memorizing, and they don't retain any of the information. So we can present them an opportunity to go and learn in an environment that's fun, where they can collaborate themselves and decide what they're going to learn and how they're going to learn it. How beautiful would that be? That's exactly what they're asking for. And that's what we are working tirelessly to create.
Yeah, so great. So well needed. And I think that'll just go, all around the school. And then also you have a template, the template for that, learning center. That's something that can be shared and other people can open up worldwide as well. So that would be really fascinating to have that in Australia, Canada, everywhere.
Everywhere.
That going.
Ladies and gentlemen, our show will continue after these brief and important messages.
Over to you, my girl, and congratulations on your book. Look forward to getting it. And the #1 best-selling author, award-winning author. Here we go, brand new minted.
Oh
Thank
my
you
God.
for being back.
I found out that the actual writing of the book was the easiest part. It took me 20 years to Roots was amazing again, because I have extreme ADD and I could never sit still. And that product was amazing because it really allowed me to focus in and sit for hours at a time. I'm 5 months, 6 months of writing nonstop.
And now, back to our show.
Everywhere. You know, I did a workshop with Michael Jaco, the first one I did in December, and something really profound and beautiful happened, if you don't mind me sharing really quickly. So Michael did a guided meditation for the group, and we were supposed to go into the future. I can't remember the details exactly, but what happened was I went into my safe space during this meditation, and I was in my own little world. And then he directed us to go into this place to go into the future. And we all can envision what that looked like, you know, so everybody's envisioned something different. So I ended up going into this crystal cave within my world. So I was inside the cave, and it had selenite and this beautiful, you know, those big crystal caves that we have, like it looked like that. Big chunks of selenite and I think amethyst or something. And I'm walking down the curvature of this cave, and this woman approaches me. She's about maybe in her early 20s. I don't know, something like that. Brown hair, beautiful, way taller than me, big brown eyes, big cheeks. Like I was like, I'm taken back. Like, who is this woman? And she comes up to me and she said, without answering my question, she said, "Mommy," as a child's voice, "Mommy, we did it. Our centers are everywhere." And I like started bawling in the middle of this. Luckily, I had gone first. I did my presentation first, so I didn't have to, get the mascara off my face. But I told Michael after, I said, "Michael, that was one of the most profound experiences. Like, what it showed me was that my daughter, as in the future, came to me now to let me know, hey, we did it. All of our, it's not mine, all of our collective hard work paid off, and Aramis centers are everywhere." And part of that vision that I forgot to mention was she was showing me flashes of children all over the world, Brad. I mean, in Africa, all over the States, in Europe, in Australia. It was like quick flashes of children in the Aramis centers all over. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like, it was so profound. And it was just like, I think the universe's way of giving me a nudge, like, don't give up. You know, I know this is hard. I know you get a lot of slack, and I know a lot of people don't understand what you're doing. And, you know, sometimes you just want to crawl into bed and put the covers over and cry, which I've done. But don't give up, because what you're working for is so important. And it's not just, what I want people to recognize is I could easily seclude my children and put them in a bubble and make this beautiful life for them on an island somewhere. But what good is that going to do for anyone else? Like, what I'm doing is not just for my children, it's for it's for all the children. I believe that's my life purpose, is to assist the collective and the children and the children's children and so on. So this isn't just about my children. It's about everyone's children. And in that vision, I saw everyone's children, and they were thriving and they were happy, and it was joyful and it was fun. And I was just, I can't even tell you in words how that felt to me, but it was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I think that is something you should hold on to, or doing my best not to should all over people and say think. You know, I feel that's one of those hallmark moments in your life that if you ever get back to those points in time of throwing the covers over and having a cry, which is okay, because we've all had that with our symbols, right? This human experience, exactly. remember that. And, Michael's had his own experience of his future self coming to him like as a teenager, and letting him know. So that's very powerful. Thank you for sharing it. And, it resonates for me as you say it, but this is already around the world. It's waking people up. I mean, what first came to me as we're talking about this, like, I should connect you with some of the folks in Australia, because they're actually trying to lean into it right now. So we can definitely do that. We talked about a few other people to connect you to prior to the show as we recorded, and we'll certainly get that, because it's all there. And we're right at that edge here in 2023 of everything about to turn into a lifetime and a spiritual awakening unlike many people could ever fathom in our 3D experience right now. It's very, very cool. Well, great. Let's talk about the Intuitive Wellness Center and the things that you offer for how people do connect with you as well. If they have any folks want to get involved in your workshops, and then we'll continue chatting about the kids. But since we're on website number 1, website number 2, and the Divinely Guided.
Yes. Thank you, Brad. Yeah, this was my first baby before Aramis Creative Learning Center. So this was when I decided to retire as a registered veterinary technician and really branch out and help people thrive. I'm big on empowering people to do the work themselves. So I have a strict policy, especially when I started, I'm not going to save you. And if you want to work with me, you have to do the work that is required of you to heal, because it's emotional healing, and a lot of people don't want to accept the notion that they're empowered, that they're in control of their life and their dis-ease and their challenges and setbacks, and I think that's because a lot of us are living in the ego. And I don't mean ego in the negative sense, because we need our ego. The ego is part of being a human being, and we need the ego. The ego is there for our primal ability to thrive, and it motivates us. But then it can also be our biggest nemesis. And it's funny because in my book, the first book, Intuitive Transformation Evolution, I refer to our conscious mind, which is also the ego, as our nemesis. And we just have to keep it in check, and really tap into the higher consciousness, our friend. And so I really work to empower people to help themselves on their healing journey. And what I mean by that is, in sessions, I do soul readings and intuitive healing. So I work with somebody and I look into their past lives. I look at their soul origin. Where did they come from? Where do they originate from? How many lives have they had on earth? Why are they here now in the Ascension? What's their role? People tend to land in one or three groups rather. They're here because they're healing from the wheel of samsara. They've had hundreds of lives of suffering, and they are the ones that are the challenged the most right now with dis-ease, hardship, financial issues. I mean, you name it, they've had the hardest life that you could even ever imagine. And those people are getting their power back in this life, and they are exiting out of the wheel of samsara, that negative grid of reincarnation, that the nefarious agenda that suck them into. And so they need a lot of healing. They need to bring up their confidence. They have this what's the word I'm trying to think of? This program in the back of their mind playing that they're not good enough. So no matter what they feel that they want, they self-sabotage because they feel that they don't deserve it because of all this life trauma. So I help them work through that to clear all of that so that they can move forward and be in peace, because not everybody that's part of the Ascension is here to do something grand. And no one is better than anyone else, but not everyone is here to create an Aramis Center. Many people are here to just survive through this, heal, find themselves again, and then and really truly just enjoy the rest of their life here, and maybe travel and do things that they never were able to do. And that's it. And I don't mean that's it, like that's all, but like, yeah, that's it. That's what you want. Your soul is telling me, I just want to be in peace. I just want to be left alone. That's all I want. Then there's another demographic that are here because of what I just mentioned, but they're also here to have a second chapter in their life. Now they're here to be of service to help humanity. And now they're waking up now. They want to learn Reiki. They want to learn about all of these metaphysics, and they want to shift let's say they were nurses in the system Now they want to do more holistic nursing or doctors or whatever, or education. Now they want to do something that's of service. So they're switching the trajectory. And then the other group are those that are true star seeds, in the sense that they don't really have a lot of karma, if any, that they're working through, and they're just here to be of service. And they are the ones that Dolores Cannon talked about. They are the waves of volunteers that come in, and they don't really want to be bound to this place. They're just here to help us move forward. And many of those are the starseed children. So I work with them to try to identify what group they're in and how they can move through their challenges. I do clearings and energy healing as part of that, but a lot of it is communicating with their higher self and guides, receiving messages for them. So it's a very transformational process. And that's how actually the exact same thing I do with adults is also how I work with children. It's just in a different way. But it's essentially the exact same thing. But when I started intuitive wellness, yes. It was primarily to focus on adults for that exact thing. How can I help adults heal and be more happy and empower them? Because I was bullied a lot as a child. I don't like bullies, and I don't like being taken advantage of. So how can we learn from that, but also put down the walls and heal, and then trust and have love again? That's really challenging. And I am the first to admit that was the biggest struggle in my life. I hated everybody. I was always ready to fight somebody. And I had so many walls that I couldn't count how many walls there were. And then I went through my dark night of the soul, my healing and transformation. And there were catalysts for that, which for me were the animals first. And then my husband, of course, and then my children. And now I'm a completely different person. The walls are down, but I'm still on guard. But I think through my heart, and I give all of myself, and I'm truly here to be of service. But I'm not perfect. I'm constantly growing and constantly learning, and I still make mistakes, because at the end of the day, we have emotions. So I help clients navigate through that, but also myself. And so it's a beautiful synchronistic and symbiotic journey for myself, because I feel like I am constantly learning through helping people transform. Does that make sense? So as they heal and transform, I heal at the same time, and I get something out of it. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. There's a quote, and I don't have the exact verbiage of it, but those who are great teachers learn just as much, if not more, than the students they teach, because every iteration we go through of sharing information, it gets embodied further into our psyche and also into our epigenetics. And then we also learn mistakes, and we see certain things in different ways. I mean, my gosh, it's been in front of my face this entire lifetime. Baseball, basketball, football, all of that. I mean, wow, here we are. We've been talking about this demonic stuff for 2 years and didn't even make that connection. Like people with mortgage, government, pharmakia are just making that connection too. So really, really fascinating. And then when people are working with you, Sherri, and they're over at the Intuitive Wellness Center and outside of the books, you also work with families? You might be able to do a soul reading for a parent, and then also get involved with the children and talk to them about their mission, their soul's purpose, why they're here this lifetime.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And it generally starts one way. I work with a child, and the parent is so excited that they're like, I have to have a session with you for more information. Yeah. And then I'll end up working with the parent, or vice versa. I'll work with the parent, and they're like, oh my gosh, can you work with my child? I mean, I had a session recently with the entire family. There was three grandchildren and both the adults. I did 5 sessions. I have one coming up where there's 6 children. I have back-to-back every day for a week. Really? So it's like the whole family gets involved. They ask about the animals. Great. It's beautiful. I absolutely adore it. I enjoy it so much. I am quite busy, like you said, because I not only do I do the one-on-one readings, but I'm also, running Aramis Creative Learning Center and constantly bringing on more people. And I have so many exciting things coming up. And we have the animation. So I'm constantly writing scripts for the cartoons, and then we have the books to match. So we're getting the books going. I mean, so much, but it's so beautiful that I wouldn't trade it for anything else, but please be patient for those watching this that have reached out. I mean, I get so many emails, and I have 3 emails. We have the Aramis Collective email, the Intuitive Wellness email, and the Aramis Creative Learning Center email. And I can't keep up. So if there are people that have emailed and say, Sherri doesn't respond, I'm sorry. There's only one of me, and I'm an octopus pulled in so many different directions. It's not that I'm ignoring people on purpose. It's just there aren't enough hours in the day. And I have 2 assistants plus 2 women in Carly and Julia in Australia who help me. And it's still not enough. So, but I'm so grateful to everybody that supports what we're doing, that donates money through our nonprofit to help keep this going. And I want to say how much gratitude I have for the response of the collective and where we are, because that's really what keeps me going. And the beautiful children that sign up for the classes that we do, they love it so much. It's just become part of their families, and we know each other. And it's just such a beautiful thing. So I just want to express my gratitude for everybody that helps, everybody that reaches out, everyone that donates money, everyone that doesn't have money and asks how they can help. And I say, the way you can help if you don't have any extra funds is to put this out into the universe. Say that, yes, this is what we want. Visualize it, co-create it, share it with your friends and family. The more we visualize as a group, there's so much more we can do with that than money will ever do. So it's all about the energy we put behind it.
Yeah. And the donations you're referring to are on aramiscreativelearning.com, the donation tab. And this is virtual right now. You're actually running the classes, as you've been mentioning, virtual. And the ideal situation is there will be physical locations around the planet for everybody. But right now, this is all online classes. People can sign up.
Yeah.
With children too, right?
Yeah. If you go to the staff page, you can see how many mentors we call them. We don't call it's on the drop down. We don't call them teachers. They're mentors. Our team.
Classes and
in the middle.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, here we are.
We have teachers in the States and Australia. We do anywhere from 10 to 20 classes a month. That's me, obviously. But if you go down, and you'll see all of the mentor, and that's Carly and Julia. I couldn't do it without them. They're our creative directors, and they help run the program. So our program has been running for 2 years, and we have mentors and classes every single month in 3 time zones: in Australia, in the European UK time zone, and then in Eastern Standard Time. And so we have teachers all over the world that work with us. And we offer different classes every single month. Like, they're new ones. Our mentors are constantly coming up with new ideas. And I have a good 20 teachers. Not all of them are active right now, and not everyone is on the website, but these are the ones that offer the most, that are the most prominent. And they're absolutely the most beautiful souls that genuinely love children. They don't make much money at all. So none of these people are about money and ego. They genuinely care about children. Even if it's one child in their class, they dedicate so much time and effort into creating beautiful classes that are fun for the children, that they get to learn. I mean, look at these beautiful souls. They're so happy, and they're so creative. They put so much time and effort into what they create. That I'm just so honored that they work with us. And so I just want to acknowledge them. So this is our mentors in Australia, and we have such a lovely bunch of mentors.
Very
and
cool.
Yeah, so shout out to them real quick.
Absolutely. Get through them all. We're right down to Kaz. There we are.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Like I said, I don't have everyone on the website yet. I still have to add a few more.
Yeah.
But that's a majority of them. So you get the idea.
Yeah. Multiple Kaz's in there. There's a Kazra, and
Yeah, that's my husband, my handsome husband there. He's a valuable person on the team, but he hasn't shown his face too much just yet, but he will. So to your point, Brad, the center has been running for several years now, 2.5, almost 3 years now. We've been offering virtual classes. We have lots of teachers, mentors, programs. We have a library of pre-recorded classes. So the idea is that we are creating our first physical location in West Palm Beach, Florida. that will be the first of many. And like I said, in that vision, we will expand all over the States and internationally, and there will be Aramis Creative Learning Centers all over the world. And that I can promise you, one way or the other, it will happen in the time that it is meant to, in divine timing. But I know that this mission is bigger than myself. And so I know that the world is helping to co-create this. So there'll be everywhere. So this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Yeah. Well, your daughter already came to you in a vision and said, look what we've created. So it's already done. It's in the ether. It's in the quantum.
Exactly.
That was fantastic. Genie in the bottle question, as everybody gets it toward the end, guests on the show. So if you had all of creator's power, master intuitive healer, I mean, like the list goes on and on, author, coach, entrepreneur, all of creator's power, one wish for the world. What would you do for the world or for the galaxy? What comes to mind first and foremost? What you could do with all
Oh my God. Instantly, and no question, I would snap my fingers and Aramis Creative Learning Center would be all over the world for the reach of anybody that wants to go for free. And it would already be thriving, and the children would already be like knee deep in the process. Like it would already be done. I would snap my fingers. Wow, they're everywhere. Look at that. Just like in the vision that my daughter showed me. And I've said that to people. They're like, if you had $1 bajillion, what would you do with it? I said, I'd pop Aramis centers up all over the world tomorrow as fast as possible. And I would recruit the best, most kind, compassionate, genuine, humble staff that I could. I would find everybody on this planet, because I know that it's already divinely orchestrated, and everyone that's meant to work within those centers is here, and we're already connected energetically. We just haven't met physically. I know it's already planned out. So I would speed it up, and I would have it happen much sooner. That's what I would do. God's honest truth.
Beautiful. Love it. That's fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. And as we conclude the show, what message would you like to leave with our audience who's watching this broadcast or listening to this podcast, Sherri?
Good question. And I think regardless of if you're watching this, if you have children or not, that's not really the focal point of my message in general. It's all about what can we do right now to empower ourselves? What can everybody do today watching this to help themselves to move forward and to resonate at the frequency of what's in their highest good? And a few simple tips is to disconnect from toxic relationships. Surround yourself with what you want. The energy that you attract is what you put out. Tell the universe what you want. And you are in so much more control than you think, so create boundaries around yourself. And if you're in toxic situations with family that you can't really break up with your mom or dad, then you create boundaries and you say, I will not talk to you about these certain subjects. And then you go with it. And we turn out the noise and we stop watching a lot of the distractions, and you start to go within and you tell your soul, I am ready to be of service to humanity. I am ready to do what is in the highest good of my soul's journey. I surrender to whatever that looks like, as long as it's for my highest good. And you start to co-create and visualize whatever it is that you want to create, and you focus on that, and you breathe every single day, and you switch yourself from sympathetic to parasympathetic mode through your breath, and say, I choose to release any and all energy that's no longer serving my highest good. And you take in deep breath, and you go outside and you hold it and say, I choose to release this now. I no longer hold on to this, whether it's mine or not mine. And you exhale and ask the universe, ask the Mother Earth to transmute it into light. Do that 15 times a day if you need to. Take control of what you're allowing into your life. Release all the things that you can't control. Focus your energy on what you want to create as opposed to what you don't want. And we can all collectively tap in to a higher power that is ours, that we're not asking for someone else to save us. But if we work together, combine our energy, and we focus on what's important and how to change the trajectory of our future for our children and future generations, and you focus on that, everything will change so much faster. But what's the delay? A lot of what the delay is that there's this program of not being good enough, and I don't deserve it, And I'm telling everybody watching this, if you are of the light and you are not a bad person and consciously a bad person, you are deserving, and you will deserve everything. And you are part of this ascension, and your role is significant, no matter how small or how big you compare yourself to others, and what their role is. It has nothing to do with why you're here. Everybody is playing their role, whether it's passive or active. And is that we need to recognize that we're all important, and we're all beautiful, and we're all sovereign, and we all are of God. And as soon as we do that, game over, buddy. The convoluted matrix crumbles in seconds, but we all have to feel it, and we all have to resonate with it. And I think we're so close. And I think that's what 2023 is about. But I think the more people believe it and tap into it, and what's your superpower, Brad? What's my superpower? And you start to think about it, and you grow within it, and you stretch your light, and you expand it out and say, I'm a sovereign, liberated human being, or beautiful woman, or sexy man, whatever you want to say. And you live it, and you accept it, and that's it. And so it is. Done. Next. And I think that that's something really important right now. And that's what the children are trying to relay to the adults, breaking our habits, breaking through the programming.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done. That should be on a bumper sticker, but it would be a very big one.
I don't think it would fit.
Just kidding. But absolutely 100% sovereign soul, right? Literally stepping into your power and unlocking it or tapping into it. And that's actually part of what you do with your healing. So I really appreciate that, and look forward to having you come on here in the next month or two. And let's and check in and see what the kids are saying then. I mean, in roughly 9 months, it went from talking about galactics to now talking about inner Earth, because you've got the 100 monkey effect in consciousness, where now these starseeds in these young bodies, children, kids, are starting to feel that they are recognized, and they are getting aligned with what they're here for. And now we've got the inner Earth kids coming up. That's really fascinating. So I'm curious, just even in the next 60 days, because things, I feel, Sherri, I mean, we've just been seeing them take off like a rocket. So, what usually could be disclosed in decades or years is happening on nearly a daily basis. So I'm curious to see how it goes with the kids. Well, folks, check out Sherri's websites. You've got them all here. They're in the description, aramiscreativelearning.com, or you can go and book with her at intuitivewellnesscenter.com. Her books are up there as well, or jump into the sessions here. It's been an absolute delight and lovely to have you back on the show. Sherri, wish you all the best and moving forward, to you, your lovely husband, and the family, and all the teachers and the instructors and the staff. So folks, please do drop a like. That's a plus sign here on Rumble, because we don't exist anywhere else anymore, thanks to big tech censorship. And share this episode. Joe Rosati, as he says, share is 15 times more powerful than a like. But that helps the algorithm. It helps get it out there, the message out there. And if you find any of this message divinely guided, which you certainly should, but I won't shit all over people, then absolutely send it, get her out there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching, and God bless everybody. This is for the children and for the benefit of humanity in this new Earth that we're creating. Sherri, thank you. Have yourself a lovely night, and God bless. Look forward to having you back on.
Yes, thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Until next time.
Hey, real quick to you, divine lions and lionesses, stay tuned for this important message for the enlightenment of humanity. Enjoy.
Well, hey, everybody. One of the things about being a courageous lion or lioness, standing up for what's right for humanity, is understanding there are some hard truths that we have to swallow, and also looking for the solutions to those truths so we can move forward in abundance. Now, on December 26th of 2022, that's the day after Christmas, the head of the World Health Organization admitted, and this is a direct quote, on COVID boosters are used by countries to kill children. Now, we've been saying this all along, and many people have been called conspiracy theorists, which have become conspiracy fact and spoiler alerts. Now, here's one of the great things. that is a solution that on a daily basis, I have been leveraging for over a year. It is from Root Wellness. It's amazing. I am a case study for some of the incredible experiences I have had by taking a product of theirs called the Trinity Pack. It's actually 3 products that are used in concert with one another for these reasons. If you haven't seen it before, the first product is called Clean Slate from Root. And you can go to getrootnow.com and check all this out as I'm talking to you. Now, the thing about Clean Slate in this little pill dropper, again, everything is all natural, it is the highest form of bioavailable silica. We, as human beings, are carbon and crystalline-based creatures. That's a fact. And from being a Yushui Reiki master for roughly 8 years, I can share with you that the more you activate the crystalline structure in your bio and etheric field, the higher vibrational level that you have. That's where you tap into the love energy and also in levity, right? So a couple drops of this under the tongue every morning, every night. What it does is it dissolves heavy metals. It chelates them naturally. We even have video online when they were doing this in the lab showing this was being added to graphene oxide and it dissolved the graphene oxide. Now we know where graphene oxide is used. They put it in those COVID-19 vaccines, which they passed off. And so that's in our bodies, including in that, by the way, for our entire history of life on this planet, right? At least in the last 100 years and generations, we have barium, aluminum, cadmium, mercury, a whole host of heavy metal toxicities that are in our bloodstream because of what's in our environment, the foods we've eaten, epigenetically passed on from the parents. My mother was a 2-pack-a-day smoker, even when she was pregnant, not a good thing, and had mercury fillings. So that was passed on to myself, my younger sister in the womb, obviously. So we have to chelate heavy metals out of our body. Now, that's exactly what Clean Slate does. And in addition to that, it cleanses your pineal gland. Now, our pineal gland is the radio frequency tower to God source, to cosmic consciousness, right? It is literally the tipping point of the antenna that we have to the universe. So when you cleanse your pineal gland, you decalcify it. It also, with the highest concentration of bioavailable silica, it activates your pineal gland so you have greater insight, greater sleep, and also greater intuition. We're going to go into that. So that is Clean Slate as part of the Trinity Pack that you can go to getrootnow.com and jump onto it. What also is part of Trinity Pack is Restore. This is about restoring gut health. Now understand this, 95% of our neurons are in our gut, not our brain. So it's actually our first brain. And all the sages, the ancient sages, the wisdom was right. Our gut instinct, our ability to tap into our intuition isn't in the thinking mind, which is above our shoulders. It is in the power chakra. The power chakra is our gut instinct. So what Restore is amazing sachets, taste like an orange creamsicle, about an ounce, that you can take every single morning after Clean Slate on an empty stomach, 100% all natural. And we have had people who have had Lyme disease, IBS, Crohn's, who have reported colitis. My younger sister had colitis, who have reported that all of it has cleared up within 60 days. This is all natural. There are no medications here. By the way, every one of these products is BSCG approved. That means for every sport in the United States, it has a stamp of certification saying that it's 100% drug-free and all natural. It's really key, really amazing. And then the final aspect of the Trinity Pack, because we're dealing with cleansing our body from within, removing the heavy metals toxicities and activating our pineal gland. We're talking about restoring our gut health, right? Because in our upper and our lower level digestive tracts, this is where we obtain the nutrients that help empower us and propel us forward in our day. And the final is called Zero In. Now, Zero In are amazing, again, all natural tabs, right? BCSG approved. And you take about 2 of these a day. It comes with a 30-day supply, the Trinity Pack for everybody. And there's 60 of these that come in. So I average 2 a day. This allows you to tap into quantum level consciousness. Now, it's no surprise that every tier 1 combat veteran I have had on the show, whether they are from the British, former SRR, which is like the super secret previously super secret version of the SAS, to the former deputy commander of Delta Force Special Operations Group, to Navy SEAL Team 6, Michael, to the Lieutenant Colonel, Ricardo Bosi in Australia, formerly heading up Australian SAS, and now leader of Australia One Party in the freedom movement. It's no surprise that all of those incredible warriors of light and their spouses and family are using the Trinity Pack because they recognize the value. What we've also seen in studies, within just 30 days using Zero In, people have been able to increase their performance, their reaction time up to 50%. Their Olympians, the Hungarian Olympic team, is one of the case studies where they have seen up to a 50% reaction time. Just imagine if you're in the NBA and you had a 10% greater reaction time. That's off the charts. That is diabolical. So we're seeing this with Zero In. What's great about this too in Zero In is it balances the serotonin, the dopamine levels in your body, and it drops your cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone. It drops the cortisol levels to literally zero after prolonged use of several weeks. So think about this. We live in the most stressful times ever in recent human history around the globe. Not World War I, not World War II, where it was more or less composed of certain geographical regions. This has been a war on all of humanity at once. We've never seen this in several lifetimes. So imagine having the ability with Zero In to drop your stress hormones, your fight or flight response to virtually nil, to get deep sleep and lucid dreaming. There's no caffeine in this whatsoever. We've even had people, because it's an adaptogenic nootropic, it is intention driven, right? This is literally the next generation technology here today, all natural. And people have deeper sleep, lucid dreams. They focus their higher degrees of creativity and focus. Now, I am a case study. And for those of you who haven't heard that case study, I leveraged this on a 4-day motorcycle ride. People don't think that's anything spectacular. Well, listen, if you understand, I did this as a solo trip for 4 days at an elevation of 7,500 feet to 12,500 feet for 4 days. I ate one meal a day, and all I had water and coconut water and my Trinity Pack. And I was able to ride up to 2,000 miles, which, I don't know, what is that in our kilometers, 3,200 kilometers or something, right? Solo in the summertime, in high heat, desert environments, off-road in the mountains to on-road, multiple twisties, doing hundreds of those a day. And it barely winded me. And I felt time like slow down. That's how amazing it can get to. When things speed up in your environment, it slows down. Kind of like people have had an experience in accidents before. And I've been in a vehicle accident, and I've been hit on the motorcycle many years back. So here's the thing. When you go to GetRootNow.com, you got the Trinity Pack, right? When you order the Trinity Pack, hit subscribe and save. And I'll tell you why. First of all, on your second month, you're going to save $15. So in the United States, typically that's free shipping right there. Month after month, that's $15 back for everybody around the world. Ships to 60 countries. On month number 4, they give you $100, $100. So 4 months in, you've got the highest level of what I say is the armor of God used on a daily basis. Tier 1, Spec Ops endorsed in multiple countries around the planet, with all of those individuals and divine warriors and their wives. Many of them have been here on this show. In addition to that, Olympian approved, and in addition to that, BCSG approved. So your kids, just imagine your kids studying for exams coming up, and you have a couple of Zero In over the next several days. And it allows them to focus. It allows them to have greater creativity, concentration, and also the stress hormone dropped to virtually nil. And they get deeper sleep. And sleep, as we know from Jason Bourne in the movie, said sleep is the ultimate weapon. And that is also where we manifest. We manifest most when we sleep. So I would encourage you, do yourself a favor for yourself, and then for kids around you, your kids, any other kids you're around. This helps protect against the viral shedding, which we already know with the studies that have been coming out here now, that people, even one person who's vaccinated and another person who is not, if they kiss, in the saliva, the mRNA gene passes over to the unvaccinated person and vaccinates them. and then that mRNA gene sequence gets going. So one of the key things too is making sure that you are protecting your biological body and your energy body and having the highest concentration of beautiful life and expression divinity, which you can have. And for me, out of anything I have used in all of my decades on this planet, leveraged, I've never stuck to it for a year. And I have just celebrated my 1-year anniversary using the Root products. You go to getrootnow.com, highly encourage it. You will not go wrong. We have had so many amazing testimonials and people who have come back to us and described to us, from medical doctors and professionals to teachers, everything in between, to former LA County sheriffs, how incredible this has been for them. So outside of IBS, Crohn's, Lyme disease, colitis, and making this antiviral, Restore and Clean Slate and Trinity Pack and Zero In are also antiviral. And we know we need to protect ourselves and our children, which are our future, from the environment and the onslaught that we've seen on humanity. GetRootNow.com. Hit subscribe and save. You get $15 back monthly. That's equivalent to free shipping right there. And on month number 4, $100 back. There's other cool bonuses that they surprise everybody from time to time, but that is immediate, and that's off for you. Many blessings to you, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you down the road and hearing from you your incredible experience with the Root Trinity Pack. GetRootNow.com. All the best.
Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our blinged Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.